Hello.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Can you
Hey
hear
there,
me?
Mike. We can hear you.
Everybody doing well?
Yep.
That was a pretty fun meeting last night, wasn't it, Allie?
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, it's good conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing much better, thank you.
Okay, I'll give you a call later on.
Sounds good.
Oh, you're on mute. Mary.
I don't know how to get rid of the little background. I've been trying to work on it. Get rid of it. Hey, Asta, Carla, how are y'all? Where did
Good,
Chip?
Mike. How are you?
Oh, Chip. Oh, there you are. Hey,
I'm
what's
doing
going
great. How you doing, Mayor?
on? Doing well, thank you. Jake, good to see you on. Mark, Ursula. Heard y'all having a pretty long last night at Planning Commission. Hey, John, did you send me an agenda?
I'm sorry, I was muted. Do you want me to just put it on the screen, like a share screen thing, or do you want? I put it in your email too.
Was it on that same email that you just sent?
There's a new one. One right after.
Yeah, just share it for a second, so everybody kind of knows what we're going to talk about. Can you scroll it? I'm sitting here trying to scroll it. Okay, keep on going. All right, a little more. A little more. All right. Okay. Okay. All right, sounds good. Thanks, John. Does anybody else need to look at it anymore? Here, watch this. I'm gonna... Okay, John, you can make it go away now so I can see everybody. Please. Thank you. All right, welcome everybody. We're going to go ahead and get started. So we have not had well, I guess we did one on Wednesday, just kind of updating on what's going on around the city as far as with the COVID and how we're continuing to handle the safety of our staff, updates, census stuff, and more talk about how we're going to move forward this weekend and into next week. With the hope on Monday that we get some kind of good word of how we can start opening our businesses in some sort of capacity. Did everybody get a chance to look at the guidelines that the governor? It was a draft document. They haven't. I don't believe they've approved it yet, but they've got a draft document. Did everybody get a chance to take a look at that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Shake your heads, yeah. So with that, Jonathan sent out, and what we've talked about is how we were going to allow the outdoor seating and expanding that outdoor seating, not only downtown, but at the east end of Idaho Springs. And how businesses can, this is not just about restaurants, and this is also about our retail shops. They're dying to get open as well. One thing that Randy is very concerned about, and rightfully so, is how much traffic are we really going to have up here this weekend, and how are we going to control it? With really the capacity for the restaurants isn't going to be allowed, and there's going to be a lot of to-go orders, and I firmly believe, and you can tell me if you feel any different, there's going to be a lot of people up here this weekend, and we're still under the gathering. So we're going to have to be real cautious. And, I even talked to the chief about if it got too crazy, what are we going to do? And he said, of course, first of all, we don't have the staff support to have 2 or 3 officers down there trying to keep it under control. But what I'm asking and what the city's asking is we're going to need everybody's help. If we see that it's getting too many people gathering, not keeping the social distancing, we can give a call to the police department, and maybe they can come down and help guide, some separation. As you know, that I believe that most people that are going to be around are going to be, they want to get out. So if it's me, I'm going to keep the social distancing. I'm going to wear my mask and, abide by the rules, but as you know, I don't know if you heard, I think somebody actually got shot yesterday because they said you can't come into my business without a mask, and there was a shooting. I don't know exactly where it was at, and I don't even know if it was in Colorado, but that stuff could happen. I'm not expecting something like that to happen in our community, but you never know. So with the encroachment agreement, hey, there's Margaret. We gave her the email. Welcome, Margaret. What we need to start doing immediately is all the businesses need to start filling out the encroachment agreement together so we can expand. So here's kind of the way I see it working is I'd like everybody to work with their neighbors that aren't gonna, I don't know if the bee's knees is gonna be open, if they're gonna be back up here to open next week when all this happens, but you should talk to your neighbors, and if they're not gonna say the cidery, well, they only trying to think of somebody that doesn't. You have 2 retails next to your restaurant. Those people or those businesses don't want to expand out into the street. Allow them to. Ask them if you can use that area and include that in your enclosed areas, so that would help your restaurants expand more. Am I making sense here? Because what we want to, what we're going to have to start out is the linear frontage of your footprint of your building is out to a certain area in the street, and we'll determine. I think we're going to be able to do about 10 foot from the curb line out into the street in front of your business. The other questions that have come up were things like, is your insurance going to cover it? Even though you might want to give them a call, tell them what we're going to do, and make sure that you're covered selling alcohol out there with approval of the state. I believe that I've already heard that the state liquor authority is going to be real loose on letting people do this. They understand the demand for it, and has really pushed on making this happen. So I think it's going to be easy. Then, of course, we're making it as easy as we can at the city level. We're not going to have you come back in and do a public hearing about expanding your premises for alcohol sale or anything like that. Really, the encroachment agreement, which asks for a couple of things. If you haven't looked at it, one of them is going to be to drawing of what your area, your presentation, and your study. Some will be able to do front and back. So we're going to also let people that are on the mall, like Chip, for instance, could expand out across the mall area or onto the mall area and rope that as long as we for ADA compliance to be able to use it well. He's going to be able to use that mall area and rope it off and be able to use some of the front of his property and the back of the property. So I'd like everybody, and everybody is creative, so I'm looking at people coming up with some creative ideas. The other thing that we've been talking about is what we're going to use to mark the area off. Some of the ideas was to use some flower pots, which would work just fine, making a flower. Some, those things like at movie theaters that you pull them, they stretch, and you hook them onto another pole. And of course, when we were all kids, we pulled them and let them go, and they pop back and knocked everything up. So that's an idea. What we're hoping is, and not seeing, because we want it to still look like a quaint town, is picturing the worst is the yellow rope, tied onto some to some traffic cones around. So everybody kind of think of what they're going to try to do, and when you submit your application, kind of tell what kind of material or type of barricade that you're going to do to mark off your area. Let's see. Is there anything else on that, John, that we need to talk about on that on the encroachment agreements?
Mayor, on that encroachment agreement, does that include the sidewalk or just the street itself?
So we won't be able to put tables on the sidewalk. You can walk across the sidewalk, so you would include that because you're going to be carrying alcohol across the sidewalk. But we feel that tables on the sidewalk, a couple of things. Some of the guidelines is 8 foot apart. I don't think that we could ever accommodate in a good fashion and maintain our handicap requirements and pedestrian movement on the sidewalks with a bunch of tables on them. It's unfortunate, but I just don't. And the chief had a real concern about that too. So we will leave a drive lane down the middle for deliveries and for a Cabata to be able to drive down the middle and pick up trash cans. We're going to have extra trash cans put out on the street and for them to use, and they'll have to be emptying them more often. So we'll have that. I figure that drive lane will be 11 feet would be plenty, and not a drive lane for cars to move. This is only for deliveries and only for our maintenance guys at our public works. We won't have traffic moving up and down Minor Street. John Bordoni, I'm not sure if he'll have them by next Tuesday, but he did order some barricades to put up at the end of each block. We'll leave the side streets open for traffic movement. We're going to turn, and this is for you, Steve. We're going to go ahead and turn 14th into a two-way, and that'll help the traffic movement. We've also been talking about where should we try to make the employees park. I know Carla's been working on getting that area over by the playground for employee parking only. We'll be able to sign that and make sure that as employees, we're still working on hang tags and a way to control the residential areas, as Randy and several of us are concerned about how that's going to work out. Are employees going to park over there? Are we going to start getting too busy and people are going to start pouring in over there? So we've got a lot of, and this is going to be an adaptive management. We're going to have to learn. It's going to be a learning curve along the way that I feel that we're gonna perfect, right? By the end of all this stuff. So we'll know what's going on. We'll know how the traffic's moving. We know the do's and don'ts. We were on a call yesterday with the chamber, a few of us that are here. I don't see Sadie's not on right now, but Sadie has been open for most of this, or if not all of it. And she's been doing a really good job. And she says she's had a lot of compliant people, when they ask for masks to be on to enter the store, they've been doing it. So if any of our retailers need to kind of know what's been going on and how to try to control the movement of the traffic coming in and out of their buildings, you should talk to Sadie because she's been doing a good job.
Hey, Mike, just quickly, going over what you said about the encroachment and trying to visualize it. I'm visualizing Minor Street, and places on each side of Minor Street can come out about 10 feet, and then you're going to leave about 10 feet in the middle. So it's kind of a third, and that 10 feet in the middle will probably predominantly be a lot of pedestrian traffic unless there's a maintenance truck or delivery truck coming down. Is that correct? Am I seeing it right?
That is correct. Actually, when we were out doing the walk, I measured across that street. It was 38 feet. So what we should do is take the center line, mark off 5.5 feet or 6 feet each way, and kind of draw a line there. And then we can use the rest of it. So everybody get creative and measure it off, work together. There was something else I was going to say on that line. Dan, are you on? Dan Ebert? Oh, Dan, okay, hey. Let's see. Got the program tonight. Dan Ebert said, good idea. We could talk to the rec district. They have moved all of their vehicles over to the ball fields. So that dirt lot down there, and actually it wouldn't be the rec center, but I can call the school district. Does everybody know what I'm talking about? The dirt lot on the east end of the football field, where they usually stage when they're doing homecoming and everything, and the ambulance parks down there for football games. So that would be another area that people could park, our employees. So, and that's going to be up to each of us to make sure, we won't be able to be to control it 100%. But, telling your employees, hey, this is important that y'all park down there. It's daylight until 9 o'clock at night. And this is going to help not only our business and our profits, but it's also going to help your pocket too. So let's see, I'm getting text. Let's see. Oh, there's some chats. Let's see what's going on in the chat. Heard both 10 and 30, nothing concrete from Linda. So I wanted to kind of open it up now of some thoughts. Oh, Dan says don't park there on Saturday because everybody's aware that the homecoming, the graduation is Saturday. They'll be handing out diplomas on the football field, and then they will be doing a little parade down Minor Street. We don't know how many. I was kind of figuring if there's 40 students and an average of 4 parents or family members per student, you're looking at about 160 people down the 3 blocks of Minor Street. So, hopefully everybody can spread out, keep the distancing. I don't know how to really enforce, and the parade will probably last 5 minutes if at most. Even our kickoff summer parade only lasts about 15 minutes, and that's because people are walking. There won't be any walkers in this. It'll be all drivers. All right, let's open it up. They have any questions, or let's start a conversation and some thoughts.
I've got a question, Mike. What about adding, bringing out tents or putting a tent in our area that we're gonna have getting a large tent, because again, we're well known to get thunderstorms in the middle of the afternoon and stuff. Any thoughts on being able to do something like that?
What size tents are we talking about? Are you talking about a 10 by 10? Or are you talking about much larger than that, Jeff?
Well,
And here's the other problem of that is if we do that and they stay with the 10 gathering, does that do us good where you got 20 people piled in under a tent? So I'd really like to, before you buy or purchase or, spend any money on buying tents for that, let's wait and to see how much they loosen that no more than 10 gathering. And let's judge it by then. And we'll know that on Monday. I'm sure that
Okay.
they'll have his final draft. I hate to spend a
Mike,
lot.
it's Carla. I'm wondering, I haven't looked at the most recent regulations, but there was something on the news a couple days ago about that the regulations would say something about tables would need to be 8 feet apart. Your party would be 8 feet
That
from
is-
the next party.
Yep, that is correct. Yes.
Yeah, so I'm just curious from a space standpoint, you get 10 feet out in your patio and your table has to be 8 feet apart.
And that's going to be, and when we
Tricky.
started calculating that, somebody like Josh Dubian at the Main Street, he's got 2 up in his little cubby, but well, he's got 2 buildings, so that's not. So if you only had one storefront, say for Azteca, you may only be able to put 1, maybe 2 small tables out there, to accommodate that. That's why the idea to talk to your neighbors, because three gift shops, down the sidewalk, they say we're not going to bring anything out. So then you can ask them, hey, can I use that as my designated area to be able to put more tables? And that's how I'm trying to expand that, because we were looking at it and we said, wow, this is really going to be difficult when they're 8 feet apart. How many can you really get? Now, somebody like Chip that's got 4 storefronts or something, you could even, I would suggest, Chip, you talk to Scott Pennell, because the ice cream store is shut, and ask Scott, hey, do you mind if I include that street in front of the candy store as part of my serving area? Does that make sense?
Yeah. What about the possibility, if you have a gift shop that's next to you, could they allow you to utilize that space also and close it, but also could they have some of their own merchandise out there at the same time? Kind of use it conjunction together.
You couldn't do it you couldn't enclose their door in your serving area. So you couldn't rope off out your door all the way down your building in front of theirs. Now I guess you could stop it just short of their door, so there would still be one side to enter in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because I don't think you wouldn't have to have, all the doorways go into the area. Just they could enter maybe through another door, go in through the restaurant door or something like that. But that might make it kind of nice if you had, merchandise out there along with tables and that. And I'm just kind of thinking out loud here.
You could put the tables along the pedestrian strip where the road, where what do you call it? Like the promenade, where there would be the open space for the trucks to come through, emergency vehicles. You could put the tables on the outside of the patio space, so to speak, so people can walk on the outside and dine on the inside, perhaps.
Linda, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just trying to picture, what our goal here is. Are we thinking that the customers will be shopping the gift shops out on the street at tables rather than going into the shops themselves? Would be one of my questions. And one thought I have is we've had events where I can remember one in particular where the road was closed and it was pretty filled in with tables you were actually renting to some other retailers. But I guess my concern is that I don't want the road to be so crowded that we've kind of lost the social distancing. Like I could really see the restaurants having some tables out there with a lot of distance in front of the gift shops for customers to be able to walk and still visually see the gift shops, but then be able to sit and, you know, eat and drink and be entertained and have that more marketplace feel on the street. I can only speak for myself, but I doubt that I would put items out from my store. Most of my items are clothing. It's hard for me to picture that, but I also don't want the front of my store kind of clogged up where I feel like I kind of get recessed into not being visible.
And that makes sense. And of course, Linda, this will not be a the alcohol will have to stay within the area that each restaurant defines as their space. And that's what the enclosure, so they'll have it marked off. We'll have a map. And, you know, and like I said, we need to work with our neighbors and come up with some more ideas and be creative. And, you know, everybody's here to work together. It was said last night by a couple of folks that, you know, just the collaboration of everybody of this group and other businesses, it's been great. It's been a pleasure to work with everybody and brain dump and really think this thing through. And we're, you know, I don't think anybody's saying it's all about me and my business. I think everybody is truly.
No, that's not what I'm trying to say at all. Yeah.
Everybody and we want to, if you don't like the way, I'm sure you say, hey, could you do this? Could you do that? Does that make sense? Because you're right.
I think my point was a little bit lost, but yeah, I'm not saying anything negative at all. Just saying that I love the idea. I think it'll be great for the town. My main point is people should still have a lot of room to walk around in the street.
There'd be a 14-foot walkway.
Yeah.
14 feet wide between or maybe does anybody have any thoughts about narrowing it down more? The serving space and maybe having an 18-foot wide down the middle of the street and only 10-foot wide off the curb.
Hey, Mike, I think that the strategy that you've come up with is a good starting point, because we'll all be talking after day 1 and day 2 about what's working and what's not working, and we'll be adjusting. And then also regarding pedestrian traffic, the sidewalks are for the most part going to be pretty open, I would imagine. So pedestrian traffic will be very much like it is in normal summers in terms of the flow of people walking on the sidewalks. They'll just have more room to walk in that center alley in the street.
And that's why that we are suggesting and trying not allowing the sidewalks to be cluttered with tables. We want to be able to, you know, restaurants and around restaurants, you know, if you haven't read the regulations and the requirements, it's pretty detailed. You know, you still have to be 6 foot apart if you're standing, you know, from another group. The 8 foot apart is 8 foot. When you're sitting down, the tables have to be 8 foot apart. If you're standing around, the 6 foot distancing will still probably be in place unless the governor says something else on Monday.
Hey there, Mike. Do you generally feel, and because I do, unless we've got some type of better control than I'm thinking of anyway. I mean, we think about Tommy Knockers and we think about, you know, Westbound and Down and beer out on tables in the street, in to-go cups. They're going to travel.
That's why the area is roped off or marked off, because that will be the responsibility of that property and business owner. Steve, yes.
So how permanent can we make that barrier to divide the alcohol consumption versus not? Is this something that's going to be, I know we don't know for sure, but long-term, like I'm trying to figure out what to invest in making a secure barrier.
I would suggest, without knowing from day to day, week to week, you know, past the summer, of what we're looking at and what the transition is going to be and how this works. You know, personally, Steve, I wouldn't spend a whole lot of money, and especially not making anything permanent, you know, because making it permanent on the city street would not be productive.
You think it'd be okay to put a couple 10 by 10 tents up there that like it'd be a good divider, and then one party would be under that one tent, one related party.
Those are the things that I'm talking about. I didn't even think that might be a great idea.
And then, do you know what's going on with the construction project behind Tommyknockers? When are they gonna wrap that up in that lower dirt parking lot?
They're supposed to be out of here by this weekend, by Friday. They're supposed to be out of here and they will be done. We've done a really good job of pushing on them to not come back until the fall. So that is their promise to us, and I'm hoping they hold up to it. And I believe they will.
Hey,
So-
hey, Mike, for the Tommyknockers on the westbounds, if it's going to be roped off, is their liability only to signage, or are they going to have that manned as people enter or try to exit with alcohol? How much liability do they pick up?
I don't know. I'm assuming, are people still outsiders? Are people still going to use paper cup to put the alcohol beverages in? I'm not sure. You know, at my place, I'm going to use paper cups, and I don't know what everybody's planning on doing downtown. I'm going to take off. I got to get something to drink, real quick.
I'm planning on using glass. That'd be harder for them to walk, or be more noticeable if they're walking away with it, I'm imagining.
Hey,
it's
Steve, is there, in the guidelines, is there anything there about requiring paper products?
I haven't seen that. It's part of, we don't know if we're doing table service or to go.
I think on the seating out on the patios, that's got to be a table service thing, because again, the liquor license holder has got to maintain control of his liquor establishment. That becomes part of the liquor establishment. So it's up to the liquor holder to maintain control of that. That's why you had the barricades. And yeah, you're gonna have to watch it and make sure people aren't going out, and it's going to be a little bit challenging.
You also have to sanitize those tables in between every use. That's the other requirement.
Yep.
Yeah, people, menus as well. They suggested, and the suggestion's been to use paper throwaway one time. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to print a menu. I'm going to give a table of 4. They get one paper menu. When they're done with it, it goes in the garbage. So we get a lot of work in the restaurant industry. I know we keep on talking about restaurants. Asta, I'm still not sure. I want to see your face, Asta.
Coming. Sorry, my kids are running around and talking to me and stuff. I just.
We really haven't heard a lot about the 80% bar and 20% restaurant or food service.
Right.
Have you heard anything, John? Have you heard anything?
Can I just comment? I mean, so we're considered a tavern, because we serve food. So I think we fall under the restaurant category. So we can open when the restaurants do. My understanding is that if it's just a bar, like the West Winds, I don't know what they're considered, but I think places like that can't open because they don't, we have a kitchen, we have a smoker, we can legitimately sell, So I'm categorizing myself with Tommyknockers and Westbound and everybody else and Bojo's. So.
And Rachel,
Asta, that goes to one of the questions that I had, is that are they going to say, hey, a Tommyknockers, or a Moose or whatever will have to close the bar area, but because you can't seat at the bar, but other areas can be open.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, our plan was just to kind of put like tape on the bar. I know that sounds kind of ghetto, but just to mark the 6 feet or whatever we have to do. Our place is so small anyway, so.
Wasn't the language on the bar actually, if there's no one staffing the bar, we can actually seat people there? I know that would be hard in the Moose because you need a bartender, but I thought I saw language that if there's no employee working the bar, you can use the bars for seating.
As long as you maintain your 6 feet distancing.
Yeah, exactly. So for those of you with long bars, you can use those like a table, but you have to have it served and then left alone.
Okay. Yeah, I need
FYI.
to I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, as far as we were concerned, I was gonna, because we have all those patios too. So I was placing us under that. So we would just close the bar then, I guess, that bar area.
and a suggestion also to you, figure out where you can rope off and put some more tables out there.
Oh, we already have a gate made. We've already got we're in the process of that. So.
Another one that is a tavern or considered a tavern, Rachel Betts has been working on it. She's being very creative because she doesn't know when, they're going to be able to start doing gatherings of, some up to 150 people at a wedding. So she is also being very creative of how she can attract some kind of business from people driving up 103, going up to Echo Lake, having a sign out there, what would you call it, Rachel? A beachfront or something, a beachfront bar or something.
That'd be awesome.
So
It's a great idea for her.
she's being very creative, so that's good. Dale, do you got any updates on what's going on with the rafting industry? How can we help you some more? I want you to know that y'all's industry is not left out. We want y'all as open as much as we want all the restaurants open. Can you give us a little update on what's going on?
Well, I think that right now we're counting on a variance from the county, and so anything we can do to help facilitate getting something that the county feels comfortable putting forth as a variance that would allow us to operate is kind of that's going to be crucial for our industry. There are some counties. Fremont County's variance that included rafting was approved today, so they're open and running trips. And so, to be blunt, we're sending all of our guests to Fremont County at this point.
What does the variance look like?
It's there's a lot of restrictions with capacities in buildings, some restrictions with capacities in boats, mostly, maintaining distancing. It's stuff we'd all expect, really, right? Maintaining distancing, contactless check-ins as much as possible, masks in transportation, things like that. So I really think it's things that we would expect in the environment we're in, but nothing that's unattainable.
So I have a question about that, actually. I note that in the what I see is the normal course of operation for rafting, the big thing is capacity by utilizing gang style seating. And I was just wondering if they eliminated that. If a group arrives together, load the boat all together, if it's to like a minimum of 2 people and get rid of the gang style seating, would that solve the problem?
I'm not exactly sure I understand your question. Are you suggesting, just 2 people per boat, for example?
No, I'm just saying that 2 people would be a minimum. And then if you had a group of 8 show up, I don't know what your boat capacities are, but the group arrive together, they can all ride in the boat. But normally what happens if you get 1s and 2s and 3s, if the boat capacity is 6, then you're loading everybody on there together. That's gang style seating. And if you eliminated that, would that not solve the problem?
Well,
yeah,
on that, what I would look at is, some of the criteria for restaurants is no more than 6 people at a table. That's about the same distance in a raft with 6 people in it. Isn't that about right, Dale?
Yeah, I think, for us, we're looking at, trying to do a lot more of that where it's just family groups who are boating together. We can't run 2 loads at high water. It creates another safety risk because, then the boats just don't have enough power momentum to really be as successful as we would like them to be. So I think that, we have some other variables with respect to how to operate on the river and do that in a responsible way as well. For example, a group of 2, that would be a challenge at certain water levels to be able to do that successfully. It's not impossible, and we've done it before, but it's not necessarily ideal. What we are maintaining, and I'm hearing there's actually some movement on a state level as well as Fremont County and their variance. Fremont County's variance allowed for groups of up to 4 people in a boat that are mixed. So, for example, a group of 3 and 1 or a group of 2 and 2 that could be mixed. On a state level, I think that they're working towards, the group size of 10, right? Because if you have 10 people from different places who are if that's your group size capacity, then we should be able to combine 2 family groups, for example. So our boats have a capacity of 7 guests in them maximum anyway. So if we were to have, 2 family groups together, a group of 3 and a group of 4, our boat capacity would be maxed out as it is. So that's, I think, one of the things that we're struggling with and trying to do it responsibly in all aspects of it, from a public health perspective, as well as, responsibility to our guests and providing as safe of experience as we can on the river as well.
All right. Thanks for that, Dale. Randy said that, you're gonna hear that behind me. Randy said that the governor and the mayor are supposed to be holding a joint press conference. So I'm gonna try to get it on my TV and see if they give me any information that I can share. While we're waiting on that, hey, George, could you kind of address the group and kind of let us know where we are with the variants and preparedness to submit to CDPHE, and kind of what factors and what things are we looking at putting in that?
Yeah. So what do we do? We separated into 3 different groups. One being outdoor recreation. That's mostly the rafting industry, and then of course the Georgetown Loop restaurants. And then we did we changed the title because we don't have large venues in Clear Creek County, but smaller venues, and maybe churches being part of that too. I believe those groups have all submitted a proposal to public health for the variants they would like to see. I believe public health set a goal to have a response by end of day today. And I think that we have a meeting early next week. I can look at my calendar here for us to take a look at public health's response and see where we go from there. The other thing that's happening is, of course, by the 27th, a lot of the work that we did may no longer be applicable under the framework of needing a variance. But I want to assure everybody who participated in that work that it will not have been wasted. What we did was build alignment and socialize the kind of things that we're going to have to be doing. And I think those businesses that participated, I hope they feel they've benefited from having advanced their thought on that. So we have scheduled tentatively a meeting the morning of the 28th at 9 o'clock. But I think that's not written in ink right now. For us to just take a look at what is in the new order and how we want to respond, just what's up with that. And, I don't know, it's hard to project what the outcome will be from the early week meeting with the recovery and resilience group as to whether we want to, accept the public health order comments or, continue to negotiate. And that'll, I think, say a lot about what's on the agenda on the 28th. So that's kind of where we are on that. Also, since I've got the microphone on testing, where our testing capacity is really starting to expand, or not our capacity, but what we've done is decided to basically blow the rest of our tests on kind of a stress test of the system. So we've opened up this coming Tuesdays. Let me open up this flyer so I can actually speak with facts. Tuesday, May 26th and Saturday, June 6th, we're taking still appointments, but it's open to anyone who lives or works anywhere in Clear Creek County to get one of those appointments. And our goal is to see how many tests we can get done and how we do with contact tracing based on the results. Kind of a stress test of our system as we approach the kind of capacity that we need to be able to get some of this stuff done. So that's good news. I've got the flyer here. I should have thought about this before, but what I'd like to do is send it to John and have John send it to everybody in this group. Please socialize this opportunity. And I want to emphasize that if you have an employee who works in Clear Creek County but does not live in Clear Creek County, they are eligible. Yeah, that I think. Oh, just one last thing. The mayor, not the mayor, the governor and the mayor of Denver are doing a webinar at 10 that they've invited local government representatives to 10 a.m. on Friday. I think it'll largely be a repetition of what's on the TV right now, but we should gain a lot more information then. It seems like it's to really run us through what this draft guidance for restaurants looks like.
Okay, does anybody have any questions from the county viewpoint? Anything that you might want to ask George to do with the variance that that hasn't been done? Okay. George, the hot springs, have we looked at Garfield County and what they've done over in Glenwood Springs to start letting them allow their hot springs to open?
I don't believe that they've been part of the variance process to date. We have largely, our variance process has responded to the industries that have shown up. And that's not to say that we intend on excluding them by any means. But our goal has been to get something across the finish line so that we can get started. And, you know, it's not like we have one opportunity to submit a variance. And we might see drastic changes in the variance process shortly anyway. So very dynamic situation. I also see here, did we address short-term rentals? I did not mention anything about short-term rentals. The county has yet to do anything that's more restrictive than the state on short-term rentals. I don't know. I haven't heard any projections about what the state's going to say after the 27th. And, you know, my own personal opinion on short-term rentals is my concern remains about short-term rentals that are inside of like condos with shared entries and stuff. And, you know, I would, pending advice from public health, be in support of some very limited restriction if they all are opened up on only those operations. But that's just my opinion, and my opinion not having consulted with public health.
Okay. George, Jillian, she is the representative from the Hot Springs. She's been on the last couple of meetings with us here. So we really need to start getting them included in this variance process. That is a staple of our community, and we need to make sure that we get them just like rafting and the Blackstones River Ranch to get going so they can start having the bids. It's going to be very important to stay in contact with them. Could we get Jillian to give you a call and just kind of talk, you know, or Jillian, would you like to come on and kind of tell us what you're thinking and what's your idea and what you would like us to be helping you do to help your business move along over there? Are you there, Jillian?
She says she doesn't have a mic. Jillian, I put my phone number into the chat line. I'll state it here. It's 303-949-0980. Feel free to reach out to me. I'll make sure you're aware of when those meetings are happening. And of course, we'll get you involved. Oh, yeah, okay. Clearly you can text because you're texting. One other question, non-essential retail. We haven't done anything. The only thing we've done more restrictive than the state is this road closure.
All right. And I answered your question, Marcel. There will be no fees, to let everybody know. We usually, I don't think we've never had a fee for the encroachment agreement. We haven't charged anybody for it. The first one that did it was Mr. Douglas. Why can't I think of it? Why can't I think of Ken Douglas? Ken Douglas, the first one that did the encroachment agreement, and it worked out very well. You know, all of a sudden he was able to use that outdoor seating. So, and we never charged them. Chip's done it. I actually at my restaurant have an encroachment agreement also, and I encourage everybody to do it. And even think about how a permanent idea could help your business in the future. because we've always talked about activating the mall area on the backs of the buildings and making that look better. And we should really look at how we can help the businesses out. And I'm not talking just about restaurants, even retailers on that side. If you could bring merchandise out the back door and activate it back there. So let's just kind of, when you come up with a plan, keep it in mind for a permanent solution or a permanent endeavor in the past, in the future. Okay, anybody, what else? John, what else do we have? I'm gonna look at my agenda here.
We have a community forum on Tuesday, May 26th, and I just wanted to see if you guys wanted to talk about having somebody as a panelist on that, or how you wanted to handle that.
So what we've been doing over the last 4 months or so, due to a lot of misinformation that's been put out in the community about projects, things that were happening around the city that weren't happening, things that have been approved. So what we've done about every 6 weeks or so, I've been having a public forum. And this is come and ask us anything, you know, even if it's, what do you do with the dogs when you catch them? You know, if you want to know that, you know, this is really what that's for. So people can get online. It'll be a public meeting. You know, of course, it'll be just like this, but people will be asking some questions. So tell people around the community that this is going on. John always posts it and puts it out there. And we like to, you know, I'm sure that some of the residents, and I'm hoping that we have some residents. What are you going to do about parking without enforcement? How are you going to keep these people out of our neighborhood? So I'm hoping that we get some questions like that. It'll be real good. We have a public hearing on Tuesday night. This last night, the Planning Commission did approve 4-1 to accept the Argo Mill Gondola project. The city council has not seen the project, and we will be seeing that and have a public hearing on Tuesday night. If you're interested in making some comments or hearing about it, you can sign on through our it's live stream. Tell them how they can get on, John, to be able to and how we handled that last night, so everybody kind of knows what the format will be.
So you'll be able to provide either emailed or written comments about the project. You can also sign up to be called during the meeting to provide comment, which Asta did last night. So she had an experience with that. And what I would do is call you and conference you into the meeting for public comment. The other thing we can do is offer you the opportunity to give public comment at City Hall, where we'll have no podium or anything like that, but you'll be on video and then you'll kind of be recorded into the record. We do need people to sign up for a public comment 2 hours in advance. That's the one difference from now. That's posted on all of our stuff that we've put out about the public meeting. But if you are interested in commenting or you know anybody who might be, if you could just tell them, you know, just get in touch with Diane Brees, who's city clerk at idahospringsco.com. I'll put that in the chat. We can get you signed up for that as well.
John, how are we? Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions about that? And just for my knowledge, how did we finally got court going back today? How did that go, John?
This is Andy. John's working remotely today, so it's still ongoing. Instead of several hours, it's an all-day affair because we're bringing in small groups at a time, practicing safe distancing. And but we haven't had municipal court for several months, and we needed to get back up and running. So this is our first foray back into a little more normalcy with some of the public interaction here at City Hall. City Hall is still closed to the public, but all other operations are still ongoing, and we'll see what happens with the governor's orders coming up on Monday.
So something. All right. Thanks for the update, Andy. I'm getting back to my agenda here. Give me just a second.
Mayor, one item you may not be aware of because it just came from our city attorney and we added it to our agenda, but something that we were talking about is item 4 there, Roman numeral 4, the emergency ordinance authorizing temporary outdoor business operations. So that will enable the city to be able to approve businesses using public outdoor space.
Okay. All righty. Let's see. The emergency, so the emergency ordinance, what was that about, Andy?
That is an ordinance. It's actually going to be a resolution as it turns out, but that just came from the city attorney. That will enable the city to approve applications from businesses to use public outdoor space, streets, alleys, that sort of thing. So that's a very important item because, you know, we need to have that approved by council and be able to make this whole process happen. The other thing I want to mention is it's very important for businesses to be working on these encroachment agreements. And if you have liquor that expansion of your premises or modification of premises, I would suggest trying to get it done within the week here, because if things start loosening up at the state level next week, we'll need to get, of course, the governor's order will come out, then there'll be public health orders, then we'll need to interpret all of it and implementation. But, you know, we would hope that maybe we can start this plan to use outdoor spaces as early as the following week. I think that is reasonable, but there's a lot that needs to happen. As the mayor mentioned earlier, it's very important you check with your insurance company as far as coverages about using a space. Think about how you're going to meet all the requirements to use that outdoor space and to mark it off. I think, we want it to look nice, as the mayor mentioned, but it could be as simple, I think, as some posts with some nice looking rope in between, or it could be something fancier. But it is temporary in nature. We don't know how long this will go on. We're thinking certainly through the summer, but now's the time to be thinking about that, because, when we are able to start opening up, we whatever that date is, we'd like to be in a position to be able to implement it fairly quickly.
All right. One thing else is Tracy's still on. Hey, Tracy, when we did the walk around, I believe that you had told me that you are working with Frozen Fire. Is that correct?
Correct.
We would like, they did such a wonderful job when this all started to help promote our businesses around town. I would like to talk to you offline about, what we can do for our businesses. Now, of course, Steve had an idea of putting some Love Idaho Springs type thing, but we're also a little bit nervous of getting too many people too close together. So I'd like to talk with you offline on how we could potentially do some, local advertising, within our county to get folks to know that, hey, we're open for business. Get out of your house, come down and have a beer, have a pizza, and start enjoying our community again.
Yes, correct. And I believe that they are on board, because with them about this very thing several weeks ago, before the city had established the task force. So I will be in touch. And what I suggest, and you can call me definitely anytime there, but what I suggest is that we go ahead and set up a meeting with Brad and Brandy and possibly Jordan. And we'll do that in the next week to see what we can do moving forward to let everybody down the hill know that we are indeed open for business.
Okay. All right. We got just a couple of minutes left. I'm just going to open up for any last comments. Does anybody have anything they'd like to add or suggest? Or
Mike, if I could share some thoughts. I appreciate you mentioning that, of course, we don't want to have so many people downtown that the social distancing just is a physical impossibility. And, in thinking through this and having a lot of conversations about it, the simplest governor on that system seems to me to be managing the number of parking spaces that are available. And so I don't know, it's kind of hard to model how many parking spaces would overwhelm the public space for pedestrians. But it's something I've got my eye on, and something that you know, if we do need to, a really simple way for us to make the tourism economy safe is to just limit the number of parking spaces available. And that may not be a need. I don't know if we can predict how much that will be, how many parking spaces we'll be able to have, but that's something that I have my eye on, and I think is the most simple way to address that concern that you mentioned that I share.
And we've talked about that, Joy, you know, just right off the bat, when we close the street down, that's 70 parking places right there that we lose. Maybe and we've talked about that in our morning meetings about how we would control that. And, you know, and if we're enforcing the residential areas, that helps as well. We've got people getting tickets over there, or, you know, and nope, that is definitely a concern of ours too. And we're going to be working with the county to make sure that we try to, as well as we can, and not have an overwhelming amount of people. And like I said, if it got to that point, the chief said he would come down and or send somebody down to help us try to thin the crowd out with just a simple, there's too many people, we're too close together, some of you need to leave. So of course we'll have people that not like that, and businesses not like it, but you know, it's important that we first and foremost stay a safe distance so we don't have a relapse of this stuff and somebody in our community, one of our employees or a couple of our employees come down with the virus, and all of a sudden we're going back the other way again.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And just a couple of last things. I know, I wanted to say that sort of here. I think if the people in this call and the people in the community sort of deserve anything from me, and they obviously deserve a lot, but the first thing you deserve is frankness and to have your expectations managed. And that's why I'm stating it here. And I think it's important for us to consider from a design perspective as we, you know, decide how much space for tables and how much space for pedestrians and all that stuff, realize that the decisions we make there, you know, impact that relationship to parking capacity. So there we go, and I'll shut up.
Could I ask you a question? Could I ask you a question real fast? What is the community, the county and the city doing as far as requiring people wearing face masks? Because I think that's a huge part of it.
And George could talk on that, but we in our policy meeting the other day, that George did pose that question on us. So George, you want to kind of get what you feel was the feedback on that?
Yeah, we did. We had about 30 seconds to try to get 10 people to talk about it. So the feedback that we got, mostly from municipal leadership, was kind of, you know, tepid, hesitant support for the concept of a mask rule. There are some challenges there. I don't want to put service industry folks in an enforcement position. But it is a conversation that we're beginning to have at the county level, and it's something that I'm acutely interested to hear your thoughts on. Maybe we don't have time for that to happen here, but
my thought real fast is I would like the county and city to have that in place, because as an individual business, I would like to do it, but I can't do it if I don't have the government behind me. That's my feeling.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, anything else?
I mean, our business is gonna clearly state that we will refuse service to anyone within the building. You know, I mean, when that, you know, if they don't wear a mask, just like with shoes and shirts and all that. So I think we all agree to do that. And I mean, anybody that's coming up to my to-go window has been courteous enough to use a mask. So I think as businesses, I mean, we should just kind of band together and say that we're not going to serve people unless they have masks on, but that's my thoughts.
And part of that order is the customers will have to have masks on until they get to the table, and they may go as far as until they get their food, that they would have to sit at the table with the masks on. Once your food arrives at the table, then you can take them off to eat. You get up and go to the bathroom, your mask has to be on. So it's going to be, you know, that was a draft order. I'm sure there's going to be some tweaks and some changes in it. So let's wait until Monday and hope for the best. And we'll all do our parts to keep safe. I'm fully confident in that. All right, anybody else?
Hey, Mike, it's Carla.
Uh-huh.
Just curious, is the 30% based on 30% occupancy from fire code? Or is it 30% of what you perceive your business to be?
No, that would be 30% of fire code capacity. And that would only be inside, not outside. Outside would still be the 8-foot rule. But it would, but if you could spread if you have an area that's got 8 tables in it and you can spread them out 8 feet apart, you can have full capacity there. Does that make
Gotcha.
sense?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Good work, everybody. We will not talk to you until Tuesday next week. Okay. Everybody should have my email and John's email and Andy's email. If you have any questions, either call me, shoot me a text or an email, and we'll try to get you the information. And if you have any questions about the encroachment agreement, you can call Diane at City Hall or call Jonathan. He's always willing to help guide you in the right direction. Okay, thanks everybody. Have a good evening.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.